Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with my review for the series premiere of I Am the Night on TNT. Alright, so to me, this was one of my more anticipated shows of the year. Honestly, looking at, limited series, TNT, especially coming off The Alienist on TNT, which I was really impressed by. Luke Evans, Daniel Bruhl, Dakota Fanning, amazing performances. A great story, too. That's getting a kind of a spin-off or a sequel, if you will, on TNT. So, a lot of good buzz. Chris Pine, of course, in this one. Big name to get for a TNT drama. So everything was kind of pointing in the direction of, this is going to be a good show, right? This is going to be really great. And then you get the story kind of based off a true story, based off real events, and a very intriguing one at that. So just everything kind of, going in really positive. But I gotta say, I was disappointed. And I think a lot of people may have been as well, but I was disappointed. So first, I'll quickly just talk about maybe, kind of the story of this one, I Am the Night on TNT, and then I'll give my kind of thoughts on this premiere. Not a recap or a full recap of the episode, but just kind of my thoughts on what this premiere kind of showed us and what we maybe can expect going forward in the series. So to start off with, to me, this episode was a complete parallel between, maybe slightly more focus on the young girl, Fauna, but also a lot of focus on Chris Pine's character as well. So a young girl named Fauna who discovers her real name and birth family. She discovers the birth certificate from her mother, starts getting a little curious though as well, right? And so she discovers this stuff as, of course, she's been orphaned, and she has now been living with her foster mother, and raised as a black girl, even though she's not. And so it's kind of an interesting upbringing for Fauna, or, Pat, I guess they called her, which was her kind of fake new name. So kind of an interesting upbringing there, but of course, she embarks then on this journey to learn more about her real family and get to know them a little bit after she feels like she's been, lied to all these years, right? And I mean, you see this kind of story, real life and also in other shows and movies about, these kids who finally get to know their real family. They just want to meet them, right? They don't necessarily want to go and live with them or something like that, but they want to meet them and they want to get to know them. They want to know who the real family was, who the real mom was, and stuff like that. And so we see that it really kind of early on in this episode, and that's kind of the leading force of the plot for this one. But parallel to that whole story of Fauna trying to find her family, and of course some stuff with her mom in there as well, a little bit of conflict going on. We also get Chris Pine's character, who's a struggling journalist, recently returned from the Korean War, I believe. This one is based in 1964, so it is a period piece. So he recently returned from the Korean War. He once wrote for the LA Times, but now he is really struggling, just in terms of his job, but also kind of with some demons, it seems like. Doing a lot of drugs in one scene in this episode. I mean, he puts his belt on the rafters of his place there, his apartment. So he's just not in a good place right now. Is it because of the war? Probably a number of factors. But anyways, he's not in a good place right now. He's kind of struggling, very weird characteristics, weird mannerisms, and he's kind of given up on life, it seems like. Kind of everything's a joke to him, doesn't take anything really seriously. He doesn't really care. And so then towards the very end of the episode, he gets a call then from Fauna's mother, at the very end, of course, of the episode, talking about how Fauna's father is I guess a mysterious man and that he should investigate him. And so that is then where the link between the two will come. Unfortunately, it only came at about the 54-minute mark out of 55, but it does look like that will then be the link. Is Fauna's father, George Hodel, will be the link between the two, and maybe they'll even be working together, which it looks like that from all the teasers and the posters. So that is essentially the story that we're working with and what we have, been established with in this first episode. Now on to my thoughts. First thing, wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. I did not expect this. I didn't expect the parallels. I didn't expect the whole story about her being fostered, and I don't know. I just did not expect it. I thought it was going to be kind of like a True Detective, although I do think it's kind of similar in some ways. But I thought it was just a True Detective. I thought it would be a case. Okay, he solves it with this, young girl. They work together on this or something like that. I didn't know that there was going to be a whole different element of her trying to find her family and her family being the ones involved in it, and she being involved in it too. So it wasn't what I was expecting at all. Not a negative, not a positive. It was a surprise to me. It was not what I expected at all from these teasers and kind of the synopsis that I've read and stuff like that going into it. So, number one, it was a surprise. Number two, this episode itself and the show, it looks like, is tonally challenged. What I mean by that is the tone throughout this episode was literally, there really wasn't a tone. It was all over the place. We get these serious moments with Fauna and her mother, a little bit of conflict there, which I felt wasn't the best writing. But, regardless of that, so you have those serious kind of scenes that build up suspense, and then all of a sudden, you have Chris Pine's character who's just, willy-nilly, he gets arrested by the cops, he's laughing and, doing all this stuff, and nothing has been really taken seriously at all here. And the way they kind of they transition between these two stories, tried to bring them together, and then the tones that they're trying to kind of pick at here, very meaningful scene where the cops come and find Fauna, and was it Lewis was the black boy that she was hanging out with, I guess, and a very important scene there where the cops basically, once she says she's colored, they let the black guy go instead of arresting him and stuff because she was white. And so good themes to tackle there, but then when they did that, they kind of went away from it, and then went back to Chris Pine's thing, and to me, all over the place. This, it really did not have a specific tone, and not all premieres and pilots will have that tone. It takes a while maybe to set that in, but to me, it was all over the place. They're just really, they were trying to do this. Well, now we're trying to do this. Nope, we're trying to go back to this now. So, if you know what I'm saying, right, just totally challenged. So, generally good performances as well. I thought Chris Pine was awesome. By the way, going into it, I thought he was going to be good. So, I didn't get the name of is it India Isley? I think is the actress's name who plays Fauna. And she was good. I didn't think she was exceptional, but she was good. And the mother actually gave a good performance. I don't have her name, but, Fauna's mother, or foster mother, I guess, gave a good performance too. Outside of that, I feel like there was some, actors in there that weren't the best. But, when you're getting a guy like Chris Pine and paying him all that money to probably come and do this, you don't have a lot of money left over for a star-studded cast. So, you can't really blame him. But anyways, generally good performances. There were some kind of standout, kind of bad ones in there. So, episode dragged on a bit. It just kind of did. It really only got into the story of things and the actual, meaning of what they were going to do about 2/3 into it. And I understand this with a pilot. Usually pilots, they got to tell us everything, right? But usually, especially network pilots, do a really great job of this. I can't believe I'm saying great because I'm not a huge fan of it, but a great job of this is in the first act or the first 10 minutes of the episode, they give you everything that you need to know, the place, location, the characters, a little bit of backstory possibly, and then they get into it, right? We see it, that's pretty much the formula for every network pilot, right? But for this one, I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what they were trying to do. We didn't see, we saw Chris Pine's character pretty early on, but then we didn't see him for a big chunk of time there. A lot of focus on Fauna, and a lot of long take scenes in this episode, with Fauna and her mother. There was some, her at the bus stop as well. There was just some really long take scenes that I feel like would have benefited a little bit more from a few more cuts, and maybe then, continue showing consistently Chris Pine, Fauna, Chris Pine's character, Fauna, I don't remember his name right now, Chris Pine's character, Fauna, right, and switch between the two, but it just felt inconsistent throughout. So to me, episode really dragged on a bit. It was around about the 35-minute mark, the 40-minute mark, that it really kind of got good, and I understood finally what they were going for and what the story is going to be about, right? Again, some lazy writing. just some lazy writing throughout. A lot of kind of explaining to us instead of kind of showing us, or at least depicting that what they wanted to get out. Just I don't know, just some lazy writing throughout this one. I just some situations it's like, well, that's kind of lazy, right? I don't know. I just had that impression a couple times throughout the episode there. It just kind of things that didn't make sense. When she goes to grab the birth certificate would be a great example from the mom, and she's kind of passed out on her bed, and then the next morning she comes out and she's like crying, like, so she has been up and crying that whole time, and then right when the mom comes out she has the birth certificate ready and all the things to say, and so that just seemed kind of forced. I will say, I'm being very negative, but a positive here is it's very visually appealing. They captured the times well, for sure. You can see that TNT is spending quite a bit on this, and it does show. I will give it that. TNT has given a lot of work into this, put a lot of work into this. The quality is there. The quality is there. I will give it that. Visually appealing. It looked really great. Honestly, it looked very, very good. Just quality-wise, really well done. So I will give it that. TNT is definitely, putting in a lot of work to this one, and definitely probably a hefty budget as well. So that's a good one. And they captured the times well. I thought everything looked pretty authentic. Maybe it will get a lot better after the premiere. This is my kind of main point of this whole review to take out of this premiere, is that I think it's going to look a lot better, or it's going to get a lot better. The teaser for the next few episodes looks very dark, very twisted, and it looks like that's where they're going to be moving to. And of course, it's based on real events, so that's interesting too about how dark and twisted it is. But that is the show that I kind of wanted, and that's the show I expected. This premiere was not that, and this teaser looks like a totally different tone of a show. Again, I would have liked to see that in this episode, so I don't know why they're kind of switching gears all of a sudden. We'll have to see how sudden that change is. But yeah, so maybe my biggest positive is that maybe it's going to get a lot better after this premiere. I don't know, but it looks like it is promising, it has some potential. So hopefully it will be better coming after this premiere. And then, I mean, Maniac has been a recent example on Netflix. I thought episode 1 was the worst episode of the entire series. And I ended up, liking a lot of the later episodes. And I thought they were a lot better. So, you know what? Some shows just don't have that good a pilot. They don't have that good of a premiere. But they end up, knocking it out of the park. So, it's possible, right? I'm not saying it's all bad news. It is possible. I will say this reminds me of True Detective and also Narcos a little bit. In that I mean, and I'm not saying that it's the same quality as True Detective, although the quality is, I would say, pretty close. I just think I was expecting True Detective, and I didn't quite get it, but I do see the similarities, especially at the very end of the episode. And then I saw Narcos a little bit, too, in the end of the episode, especially that kind of visual where they kind of showed the whole house and George Houdel, and kind of talking about him, and kind of setting him up as this kind of big figure that had to be taken down, right? This huge untouchable figure, very parallel or very similar to Narcos in the way that they did that at the beginning of their seasons. So in that aspect, at the very end, I thought Narcos. True Detective, I thought a little bit, but again, there was really no detective work in this episode or anything like that. But anyways, that's what my description of the show would be. True Detective meets Narcos, right? But I mean, it's kind of a cheaper version of both, if you really think about it, or not necessarily cheaper in terms of quality, but just a lesser show than both of those, right? And ultimately, to me, this was a lackluster premiere. I think you can already tell, right? But it does look like an intriguing story, right? I just hope that this didn't lose everybody already, because this premiere I did not think was good. I thought it was disappointing, right, as you can probably tell, but it looks intriguing. The teaser for the next few episodes looks great. I just hope that this lackluster premiere did not lose all their viewers. I think a lot of people were excited about this one. A lot of people checking it out. So I hope that this premiere doesn't lose all the viewers, and hopefully that it will get better. Like I said, I think it can. I really do. I think this might be like Maniac. It might be the worst episode of the series, and it might get just better and better after this. So, again, I hope it didn't lose everybody. I think you're still, I mean, I'm still going to watch next week. That's the thing. I really didn't like this premiere. I thought it was very disappointing, but I do want to watch next week because it's such an intriguing story, and I got to give them a chance for a couple more episodes here before I kind of make my final judgment on I Am the Night. So, anyways, you know, again, though the quality is there, like I said, it seems like kind of a cheaper or a lesser version of what we've seen before. And again, I'd like to say, I kind of end things off here. There's nothing new here with this show. Yes, it's intriguing. Yes, it's kind of based off real events, but it's been done before. You know, obviously the story has been done before. I'm not saying that, but this type of show has been done before, and we're seeing so many of these shows right now. You want to talk about Sharp Objects? True Detective is a great example. A bunch of these types of shows. The Sinner, I really felt kind of parallel to this in the way that the themes are establishing like kind of creepy and evil right off the bat, you know, and kind of setting up the villain or the antagonist or the mystery as, you know, this huge, you know, undefeatable thing. And that's what it kind of reminded me of too. But again, I don't think there's anything necessarily new here. Although, again, I did kind of like the themes that they were playing on with the black, you know, the neighborhood and she being raised as a black girl and those themes. But I feel like that's not going to mean much now for the rest of the story. That would have been a new kind of spin on things with a show like this. But it doesn't look like they're going to stick to that. I could be wrong, but it doesn't look like it. So, anyways, nothing very new here. That's, you know, ultimately what it's kind of like. But again, I want to give this a chance. Going to check out a couple more episodes, I think, before I make my final decision. But anyways, I'd love to hear your thoughts on I Am the Night on TNT. If you saw the series premiere, what do you think of it? If you haven't, for some reason, if you haven't already, I do suggest you check it out. I think you got it if you're going to watch the next episode. So check it out, try to get through it, and then maybe give it a chance like I will for the next couple episodes to see whether it kind of improves a little bit. But anyways, overall, disappointing premiere for me. Really wanted to like this one more than I did. So anyways, again, love to hear your guys' thoughts on this one. Please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel as well. I'll be doing lots of reviews for some upcoming shows. Got a lot of shows coming out in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think, even some returning shows, some new shows. So I'll definitely be doing lots of reviews for those. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. Thank you so much for your support on the channel with True Detective reviews, the likes, comments, views on those and other videos. I do really appreciate it as always. So yeah, again, thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in my next review. To shout out feeling lonely.